Right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not doing an intro video to this one. I'm just going to start because time is of the essence. So I'm starting with the front pocket. I have pre-wound 2 bobbins because I'm trying to be smart about this. So this is my lining fabric and this is my outside fabric. I'm not doing the zipper tabs. I know I probably should. But again, time is of the essence. I've currently got my child sidetracked with television to try and get this video done for you all, so we'll see how we go. Alright, then I'm just going to top stitch along here. So then I'm going to do the other side and line that up along there like that. And then take this piece and line that up as well. And I'm not going to top stitch along that one. But I am going to put a zipper on. So I'm using my chunky silver zips, of which I took more out of my stash for you guys and put back up on the website. I'm going to use my zipper pull jig thing, my glorious thing that my husband made me. Ugh, maybe not. I'm on a weird angle at the moment because of where the camera is. Because I had a lot of requests of like looking over my shoulder style, which is fine, but I'm now like confined to a much smaller sewing space. Come on. So it will go. I can do this without it, but I didn't melt my zip, which is probably half my issue right now. And my fake nails are not helping the cause either, to be honest. Alright, let's hope I don't move the camera. I've got to actually move my chair to get to the zipper jig properly. So I'm sorry that you can't see this. Oh my goodness. This is not working out at all. Alright. I'm going to hit pause and put the zipper on. Hold on. Okay, so that went on instantly after I hit pause. But anyway. Okay, so my zipper's on. And now what I want to do is I want to line up all of the pieces. So my lining pieces and my top piece at the bottom. Because the idea is that this zip sits up. So what I'm going to do is just within the seam allowance, after I turn my machine back on, is I'm going to stitch them all so that they won't move. So I want them to all be one piece. And so if I'm stitching from the bottom, this is going to force the zip to sit up the way I want it to. So again, you want to make sure that you're stitching within the seam allowance. I obviously cut a little bit extra zip because I just did. And then I'm going to stitch from the other way at the bottom as well. And the reason, again, I want to stitch from the bottom so that everything lines up when I get to the top section. I don't want to have any excess down the bottom. I want it all to be up the top so that the zipper sits flat. But I just want to make sure that everything is in my seam allowance. Like that. So now the zip sits kind of flat and on top that way. So like that. Alright, so now I'm going to turn off the camera and I actually have made one of these without bag foam and I didn't like it. I want my bag to be more firm than that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick a piece of bag foam here and then on the back piece. I don't want it all over the bag because I like the flexibility of the sides. But my front and back, I am going to put bag foam here. So I'm just going to hit pause while I go and do that because you don't need to see me doing the ironing. Alrighty, so now that is the back with bag foam. And this is the front with bag foam. So you can put those aside. And then I am going to grab I'm doing an interior zipper pocket like I always do because I use them, I guess. Probably the best reason why. So I'm going to measure 1/2 inch down from the top on the folded edge and then 3/4 inch in on each side. And then I'm going to rule a line between those 2 points and then come down 3/8 inch and go again. Put another line. Okay, so this zipper pocket, I actually deliberately made it longer. I couldn't find my template. So this one is 14 inches long, not 12. So I'm going to take one of my lower interior bottom piecey things. Oh, hold on. I've put that on the wrong side. Right. So, when I open the pocket, I want my people to be the right side up. So what I actually did was drew that rectangle on the wrong side. See, this is what happens when I try and rush a video. I'm trying to do it without any stops, but I might just slow down and deal. Alright. That one's now on the right side. So when you're doing a directional fabric, you put it on the side that looks upside down. So that when you actually sew it, it will be right sides up. Because you've got to fold that flap over. Alright, so I'm going to keep my needle down as I pivot. This is another really good example of why you should use erasable pen. So if I get up and put that under an iron for like a second, that will all come off. And make sure that we backstitch to lock in all those stitches. And then I'm going to take my scissors. So these are spring-loaded scissors, which are amazing. So if you've got bad hands or you don't want to have bad hands, you know, in 20 years' time, I highly recommend these scissors. They are definitely currently my favourite, but I don't cut vinyl with them. Alright, so when I get to about 1/2 inch from the edge, although this one was a bit more than that, I do what's called triangling out the corners. So I just cut it so right next to the stitches, but not through them. And then I'm going to push all my pocket through the gap. And then I'm going to finger press it so it all sits nicely. Now, if you didn't want to put a zipper in this, you could actually just sew this shut. Like go around and do like a welt pocket, I guess, or just a slip pocket. I have done that in a different video just for something completely different. Now you need to put your zipper pull on your zip. So I'm just going to split it a little bit, and then the idea is that you feed both sides in at the same time. Sometimes I can do it really quickly, and sometimes I super suck at it. I also highly recommend that you melt zippy, like when you buy a zipper by the meter or yard, you should melt the end. It just stops fraying. I don't know, I do it. I find it easier. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to line up the edge of the zipper to make sure it's going to be within the seam allowance so that I will sew it shut and you won't see it inside the pocket. If you were going to see it inside the pocket, you should do little like tabs on the end so that it doesn't come undone and fray and carry on and things. Alright, So we're just going to put the zip in like that, stitch along the edge, and when I get close to the zipper, I'm just going to have my needle down and open it. And stop with my needle down, pivot, go over the zip again, and then come up the top and do the same. And then again, I get close to the zipper pull, and so that I can zip it shut. And make sure I back stitch to lock those in. So now, if I pick it up like that, the pocket falls so that the skulls are up the right way. So now what I want to do is match up my bottom, because I know that I folded it perfectly in half, and then stitch down that side. Making sure that we back stitch at the top and the bottom. I also remembered to put my bin in a place that I could reach easier this video too, so I'm not throwing it on the floor. Alright, so again, back stitch. The reason my pocket's doing this is I can see that the tails are actually stuck around the zipper foot. So you can pull them out. See, there they go. When I'm speed sewing, I actually just leave them there. As long as the fabric doesn't get in my way, they tend to not bother me. But because this is a video, I thought I should fix it. Alright, so zipper pocket is now in the bottom half of that. So now what we want to do is our top zip. So I have cut somewhere here. I've got 2 top fabrics and 2 lining fabrics. And I just cut mine a random size because I was running out of this. As you can see, I've used some of the white non-printed edge because I ran out of this fabric and I just insisted on having it. So such is life. So I got 10 inches by 2 inches. So that's what I've cut all of them. So what we want to do is we want to take our zip, open the end and bend it down on a right angle and then stitch it in place. So like that. That's where I want it to stitch. And then I'm going to do the matching on the other side. Whoops. And I've got to go. My child's calling me. Hold on. Alright, so I have stitched down these and I have separated the zip. So now what I'm going to do is take some double-sided tape and put it down one side of all of these. So I want this to face the right way. So I want to have the sticky tape here and this end so that they're all facing the right way. The underneath side I don't mind so much because they're just the roses and you'll barely see it. So I'm just going to do 2 of the edges. Okay. Chop that up. Okay, so now I've got double-sided tape on one end of all the pieces. So I'm going to fold it down 1/2 inch. Like so. So I'm going to do this to all the sides. If you find that your double-sided tape's not coming off, just rub your fingers over a little bit. Your fingers warm up the glue and help it to come and fold down. So I'm just using the ruler on my table to see what 1/2 inch is. There we go. Now, so to there. And one more. Hold on, I gotta go help my child. Okie dokie. So all 4 bits are now folded down at one end. So now I'm gonna take one of my zippers pieces, which before I separated them, I did the same end, so it's gonna work out opposite, which is fine. So we need to make sure that these ends are going to line up because we're going to top stitch that. And then we actually want to start the zip at the other end. So like this. So I'm going to line that up there. And this up there. So this is also going to make sure that my white goes into my seam allowance. And then we're just going to use some clips and clip it on. So it's like we normally would, and we put the zipper tape in the seam. But we're just also making sure that this end seam is going to match up perfectly, and that's where we want to stop or start stitching, depending on which side we're doing. So I'm going to put both of these together, and then I'm going to stitch them. On the bottom. So you put right sides up, and then right sides down. Put the raw ends together, like so. To me, this is the hardest part of the whole pattern. These things used to really get my brain in a scramble. They kind of still do. But I do love how they look, so I continue doing them. Alright, so then again, we want to make sure that those are lined up beautifully. Clip. I'm going to stick one more clip in there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to sew down the raw edge and then along the zipper tape, and we're going to stop right at that bit. Making sure we backstitch to lock it all in. And then we want to swivel and stitch down. So I'm making sure that my zipper is against my foot, and then I stop right at that bit. So then, get rid of them. Grab my zipper scissors. If I chop off that little corner there, like so, when I turn this out, we should have some beautiful edge there, and then that will top stitch lovely. Alright, so let's do the other one. So I'm going to start from this end because I want the zip against my foot, making sure we back stitch. Get to the end there, pivot, sew and back stitch. Again, chop off this excess in the corner so that it folds out nicely. Those are very hacky scissors because they are my zipper scissors and they are blunt. Chop off the tails, turn it out the right way. Beautiful. So now we can just top stitch that. Making sure that we pull the zip out so everything is even, and I'm going to top stitch it on a 3 3/4 stitch length, and I'm going to do it 1 inch, not 1 inch, 1/8 of an inch from the edge. So again, just pull that out, make sure it's all lined up beautifully. And we have to go down this edge as well so that it doesn't flap open, because obviously there's raw edges in there. And then on this one, because I always top stitch from the top and the start from the folded edge and work my way up to the other end. So again, making sure that I pull both of these like so. One more, and then down the end. So they are now my zipper flaps, tabs, whatever you want to call them, like so. So I want my zip to go the same way as my zipper pocket. So I'm going to take this one and center it, because if I put a zip on here, it will end up the same direction. So I just want to pop this in the center like that, and then grab my top, here it is, my top piece, which again has that excess, but that's in the seam allowance, so you won't see the white. And then I'm just going to clip along here. If you guys follow the pattern, I don't actually know if this is the way that the pattern does it. I've only ever made this bag once, which is when I decided I wanted the bag foam. It was just a little bit too floppy for me. I like slightly more structure in my bag so I can find things easier. I also like this kind of tote style because I can throw everything in it. Alright, so that's that one. And then I'm going to do the same to the other side. Now, if I wanted to, I could have put a slip pocket or another zipper pocket. I'm not big on slip pockets though. I tend to not use them in bags, which is why I'm definitely not putting it in my own. And I tend to not put them in bags that I sell unless people ask for them. I don't charge them extra for it. It's just if they want one, they can have one. Alright, so then I'm just going to add this in to my already clips, because I find it easier to clip 2 and then add a third one than try and clip 3. So that was quicker than that. Alright, so now with the seam allowance and putting it back to a joining stitch, which is 2.5, I'm going to stitch along here. And then the other one, so I'm going to chain stitch, put the next one in, go again. Excellent. I love it. So now I've got my little flappy tab part. So then I'm going to take my lining pieces and join them at the bottom. Making sure that I back stitch at both ends. And so then I find the center of this, which is there. I'm not going to clip them with my clippers because I cut my finger when I do. And I'm going to find the center of this one. And then line the center up with the fold, the seam that I just did. Now I'm going to open my seam out so that it's flat, so I've got even amount of fabric on both sides, and then clip it. Then I'm going to come along and I'm going to clip each side. So I'm going to clip there, and I'm going to clip there, and then I'm going to come around to the top and I'm going to clip the top because I want that to line up. I'm also going to make sure that this little excess bit is pointed down, like so. And so then we adjust, making sure that all of this is going to fit in all of there, which it will. Because I'm holding it. See how I'm holding it as a 3D object? Just going to clip some in the corner. Clip one there. And there. Then I'm going to come up and do the other side. Funnily enough, my fake nails are getting in the way. of picking up the clips. Alright. Hold it as a 3D object, and then they all fit wonderfully. Like so. So then you can just check it from this side, make sure there's no kind of weird bits in the corner, and then stitch it down. So I'm going to stitch it with the gusset side facing up, because that's how I always do it. I find that it goes around the corners a lot easier. Okay. Beautiful. So to make these corners sit nice and smoothly, I'm going to take my zigzag scissors or my pinking shears and just chop off that excess around that curve. Like that. These are very blunt. I think that's about time I got new ones, I think. Or get them sharpened, if that's a thing. Alrighty. See? So those corners now sit beautifully. Zip that open. Now I'm going to do the other side. Now I'm going to leave a hole in the bottom of this bag to turn it, because I think that's going to be easier for me. So I'm going to take my bottom, line it up, stick a clip in it, and then ignore there and come straight to the side and start clipping down. So again, I want to make sure that this is facing downwards. It might fight you at the moment, but that's because this is fighting you. So just ignore that and do it anyway. Whoops. Alright, and I'm making sure all my clips face the gusset. And then I'm going to hold it as a 3D object and do this corner. Like so. And then I'm going to stop. So I'm going to leave from here to here open to pull it out through there. So then I'm going to come back to the other side. Do the same thing again. Make sure that bit points downwards. Clip it into place. If you're new to bag making, please make sure you go and buy some film of the Wonderclips, because they are wonderful and they really, really help bag making. You could pin this, but we still have to do the same to the outside. I'm going to take this clip, put that there. So now it's still going to sit lovely. I'm just going to have a big old gap in the base. So I could, if I wanted to, just turn it through the zipper pocket, but this is going to be easier where it is. Even though it's approximately the same size, I won't be fighting with the zipper. So we get just around the bend and then back stitch. Then we're going to come and start here at the bend. Make sure that we back stitch always. And then around the bend. Now, this side should look all rough and dodgy. Don't worry about that. It's meant to be like that. It all works out in the end, I promise. If you don't trust your instincts, trust mine. It will work. Alright, zigzag scissors or pinking shears. Chop off that excess. Throw it in the bin. and then it sits nicer. So that is the inside pretty much done. So now I'm going to come over to this pile of stuff. So this is going to be my little joiny bit. So I've just cut it 1/2 inch wide. So I'm going to crank up my stitch length a little bit and literally just fold this in half. So you can do it thicker. I'm not sure. I don't actually remember what the pattern calls for. It might even be 3/4 of an inch, which looking at this would make a lot more sense. And I'm just folding it in half and stitching it as close to the edge as I can. And as you can tell, I'm just doing little bits at a time. Patience is key with this bit. If you've got some really skinny double-sided tape, you could probably use that on this. Okay. Stitch that bit so I can pop that aside. Now I'm doing different strap connectors to what the pattern has for many reasons. Mainly because I'm just used to doing these. Secondly, because I couldn't get the other ones to sit 100% perfect on my other bag. So I'm going to do with what I know works. Although if you've got a domestic machine, definitely do it how the pattern says, because it makes these a lot thinner. So basically they've got like a pointy end, so you fold that up. It is a very clever idea. I just still prefer this way. So my pieces are 4 inches long and 2 inches wide, which obviously differs from the pattern. Oh, I think I have to go and help my child. He's yelling, help me, but he could also just be talking to the TV. Give me a moment. All right, so while I was off camera helping my child, I also just put all the double-sided tape on because I figure you don't really need to watch me do that. So now I'm just folding each side into the center. Now, if you've got good double-sided tape, which, while mine is cheap, it still goes alright, you should be able to stick all 4 of these without it lifting. If you're having trouble, you can get one of these. So this is like a scraper that I got from the paint section of Bunnings, so your hardware store. And you can just kind of score the edges and it helps it to stay flat. It's really, really good if you're using like stiff glitter vinyl. They work wondrous. Anyway. Just gonna fold and fold and fold. I did contemplate doing a green stitching on this bag instead of the turquoise. But I put them up against each other and I just decided the turquoise was amazing. If I had had a pale pink, I possibly would have done that. Just to be really different. But the turquoise works really nicely, I think. It's nice and like subtle but still bright. Alright, so I'm going to stitch 1/8 of an inch from the center. Now I can see the center, you probably can't see it on camera, but I can actually see where the two are joining in the center. If you can't, just stitch it from the other way. Or, if you wanted to, you could take an erasable pen and draw the center line from the top. I always like the way my stitches look from the top, so that's why I've started doing it this way. And I'm chain stitching them to save time and thread. can just separate them all. And then with the little hanging outy bits, I am just going to melt them because I don't want them popping out later. Because I just up and pivoted on one end, you don't actually have to melt the second end. I'm going to melt that though. A little bit much. Okay. So then we take our rings. And that's pretty much what the strap connector is going to look like. You can make them shorter if you want to. You can cut them shorter or whatever. See, that turquoise colour just looks really nice. Anyway. So these actually get connected to the bag on the seam like that. So we do have to kind of join the whole bag first. I mean, you probably could put them this side, but again, you still have to remember all of the seam allowances and things. So, I'm doing half and half handles too, ladies, just for something different. So what I want to do is I want to take this one, and then I want to put one on top that's got the straight edge like that, and we're going to stitch the short side first. So I'm going to do that to both. I know it looks like I'm jumping all over the place, but I had to stitch them to get them out of the way. And these parts were on the bottom of the pile. Okay. And then crank it up to 3 3/4. I'm going to split this open so it sits flat and then top stitch 1/8 of an inch. Now you want to get this pretty on the money because we've still got to join the other piece to this piece and you want it all to match. I love this stitching. You can probably skip it, but this is going to help the seam sit flatter, and I just think it looks really pretty. Look, it's just pretty. Right, so now we should have 2 cool long bits. Now we're not going to join them together yet. Although I suppose you could, and then we could just kind of struggle with those bits. So maybe let's do that. Much like the inside, really. Now again, you want to make sure that this is matched up like pretty much perfectly, because you will notice it since we've done all the beautiful top stitching if it's crooked. And we don't want that. And then again, joining this. And then we're going to top stitch that because it looks pretty. I'm flattening out that seam as well. Now you could quite obviously go and flatten this out before you start stitching. I clearly did not. I'm just doing it small section at a time. But I did get that center seam absolutely beautiful. Alright, so next time I do this bag, I will probably score it with my little fancy blue plastic thing. I think it might help. I mean, terrible. It's just minorly time consuming. Alright, now I'm going to turn and go back down the other side. Now this side should be easier because we've already split it, but just make sure it's not trying to sneak to the other side. Beautiful. I highly recommend using like a fun contrasting thread. That looks awesome. Alright. So, again, fold in half, find the center. There's a good chance I'm going to do a speed video on this and record another one. Mainly because I just want to make another one of these bags. So I always pin closer together on the outside pieces because they are thicker and want to like fight you a bit more. So on the lining, you'll notice I didn't put as many clips as I'm about to. But that's because I'm fighting the bag foam and vinyl and a heavier interfacing. And it's all just, you know, a bit much. And I want everything to not shift while I'm trying to sew it. So the more clips I've got, the more stable it is. You'll also notice I didn't interface my vinyl. That was a deliberate choice because of the way the bag's made. I want this to be able to flex a lot more than it would if I interfaced it. So you'll also notice I always go to the start and work my way down. That's to make sure that it's called easing. So I want to make sure that all of the stuff is where I want it to be. I also just unzipped that pocket because I could feel the zipper pull at this end. And that will be because I didn't do zipper tabs, which was, you know, fine. Oh, I've put all my clips, oh no, the right way. So I always make my clips face the gusset piece because I always have that piece facing up and they're easy to pull off as you sew if they're facing up. If they're down, sometimes they can be a bit tricky and you'll actually have to stop to take them off, which is not ideal. So there's a lot more clips on there than the lining, which is fine. I just want to ensure that it's going to stitch beautifully and not shift. Back down to a 2.5, so a joining stitch, whatever your joining stitch length is. And again, I'm just going to sew slowly and deliberately and pull the clips off as I go. And then when I get too many like that, I will actually stop and put them back in the bucket. Oh, and I've run out of bobbin thread. Thank goodness I noticed. Put some clips back on there. But I come prepared. I deliberately did 2 for this project. Even though I just unwound half of it while picking it up, that is also okay. So now would also potentially be a very good time to do my scraps, so that I don't have any joins in it. But I feel confident that we'll get the rest of the bag done. Okay. So again, beautiful corners. I know it possibly doesn't look like it on camera, but they are. So now we top stitch. I'll move my clips out of the way. Because again, it looks pretty. You could possibly skip this stitch, this step if you wanted to, or if it's too difficult for you. Because the next one's going to be really hard, but whatever. I think it's worth it, so I suffer through it. So I'm just using my finger. I know you can't see because I can barely see and I'm sitting right on top of it. But I'm basically just pulling the vinyl all the way across and then stitching right along with a 1/8 inch seam, or from the seam, should I say. Right, so I've just reached over halfway. You can tell because there's, you know, that. There we go. So again, you can probably skip that seam if you want to, but I really like the top stitching look, so I'm doing it. So now while I've got this one like open and it's easy to access, I'm going to take some double-sided tape and put it down here. Probably like 2/3 of the way. Do it to all of them, although I'll only be doing 2 now. So while I can easily access this side, I may as well add my strap connectors. The other side is going to be the difficult ones, but I may as well make it easy for myself while I can. So, just make sure that the sticky tape is going to stick to my vinyl. There we go. So I always stick the joining part. You can't see that, it's not focusing. So the join part of mine always go on the inside. They don't have to, I like them there. That way I can't see it from that side. I think they're a lot prettier, but whatever. Absolutely love this bag. I'm already very, very excited that it's mine and I haven't even finished it. I did have a different fabric picked, and my husband very openly did not like what I had picked, and he liked this fabric more. So he was a contributing factor to this glorious bag. Alright, so we still need to remember that we're going to stitch it and top stitch it. So I'm going to move 1.5 inches from the seam, which is right there. So I'm going to stitch it there, which is just above my zipper, which is fine. That way I've got plenty of space to top stitch this and join the lining to the outside of the bag. So I'm going to manually crank over a few and then go back through that first one. Needle down pivot. Needle down pivot. Needle down pivot. And then back up. Now I'm probably also going to put a rivet in this just because it's going to be pretty and some bling. I have some sparkly ones. So that's probably more for show, but it will give like an added support because I definitely overfill my bags. I am that person. But I suppose that should also potentially make my customers happy knowing that I do it, so therefore I make the bags that way. There we go. So 1, 2, 3, back through the first hole, lock it in, Eddie. If you're not Australian, you possibly don't get that reference, but it's a reference from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. So again, I'm always making sure that my needle is down when I pivot so that I don't lose my spot. And then I'm just going to chop off the excess like so. Alright, I'm going to hit pause and go get all the stuff for my rivets. Alright, so these are my really cool, look at these, they sparkle! Oh my god, I love them. So anyway, I'm putting them on my bag because why not? I'm excessive and ridiculous. What's a bit of bling? So I'm actually going to put 2 per bag, per strap connector. Because I really want the bling. I think it goes really well with the bag. Whoops. I got these, I think, on eBay. If I can find where I bought them from, I will add it to the description box, but I'm not promising that because I don't. It was a long time ago and I don't necessarily remember where I got them, so I'll have to just go back through my purchase history. But if I can find it, I will definitely add it for you guys. Last time I had fake nails, they were like the best thing for sewing, and apparently today they are the worst. Okay, 1 down. Like a gazillion to go. So what I'm actually doing is, because it's a little bit thick for the size posts that they are, they're just little ones, because I bought them more for decoration than anything. So I'm just cutting the foam out of the hole. There we go. Alright, and 2 on the other side. One and 2. But you know, I bought, I don't know, I think I bought them in a pack of 50 or 100, or I don't really know. It was a long, long time ago. But they're really pretty. They'd make nice decoration. I could just randomly go put them through the hair bows of the fabric, and that would be very, very cute. Very over the top, so I will probably still end up doing it. So again, I'm just cutting out the, I don't know if you can see that with the camera angle, but I'm just cutting out some of the bulk because it is going through like all the seams and everything. Oh, no, that one missed. All right. It didn't click on. Always make sure the back of your rivets click. It'll help. Alright, I'm going to do this off camera because apparently my nails are my worst enemy at the moment. So I'm basically just going to come and cut all the foam out like that. Trust me to have these crazy ideas. Alright, so maybe my nails have just grown too long or something in the past 4 days that I've had them, because I can no longer cope, apparently. Alright, I got the end on. Let's quickly squish it before it changes its mind. While I pause it there, my child comes straight back in anyway. Okay, so other side. So we're obviously not going to leave a gap on this outer side like we did with the lining. That would be crazy. So I'm just going to go from the center, work my way out, and I'm putting a lot of clips because I'm fighting the bag foam a little bit That's why it's there though. I did want my bag to be more sturdy. I'm trying to decide what wallet I'm going to do with this. I'm thinking that I should do not the NCW. So I might, I don't know. I actually think I've got the zip around wallet pattern there. So maybe I should print that and do a video for you guys on that one. Because that would be fun. Have a different wallet, zip it. Huh. Oh, my brain is mush this morning. Other side. So the next bit's going to be very, very difficult because I'm going to top stitch around, well, not this seam, but the seam after this where I'm going to top stitch is going to be difficult. But the way the pattern writes it is I would have had to top stitch this center seam anyway. So no matter what I'm doing, they're still top stitching with the bag like this. So I don't know. This way might be worse. We're about to find out because I've never done it this way. The first one I did as the pattern said. I actually read the instructions. But it didn't have bag foam, so this was also, you know, a lot easier. But I think I'm liking the fact that it stands up by itself. And I can fully kind of pack it with everything because I have a lot of crap. So in my bag at any given time, I have got 2 asthma puffers, my tablets, my level and edge, my sunglasses case, which I've got a hard case for because I got sick of scratching them and losing the fabric ones. I've got a container that holds all of my business cards. I've usually got like a bunch of receipts, a wallet, obviously that holds my cards and cash and stuff. And that's probably it. But then when I go shopping, everything goes into my handbag. So my Baronia has definitely been tortured. But it survived really well. I'm not changing bags because it's broken. I'm changing bags because it's dirty and it's time. I need to keep my style fresh. And I just really need an excuse to make myself another bag. Why be a bag maker if you don't make yourself beautiful things? It just doesn't make sense. Okay, chop off my tails. Put all the clips back in the box. Back up to 3 3/4. And then top stitch. Now this is, I hope I don't knock the camera while doing this. Please let me know if you like this angle because it's actually potentially making this a little bit more difficult because it's like right near my elbow and I can't move my chair in without knocking the camera. Okay, so I am now standing up over my bag. I'm not even sitting down so that I can see what I'm doing. But I'm not mad about stand sewing. I thought this was actually going to potentially be more difficult. But I think I'm doing okay. So I've never sewed standing up before in my life, but for top stitching this bag, I'm not mad about it. Alright, that worked out really well. If you have the potential to stand up and do that, I highly recommend it. That was great. I know you probably can't see it, but the stitching looks lovely. Alright. Strap connectors for the back piece. Now again, if you're a pocket person, you could actually make the front and the back the same with the the pockets. You could have 2 large pockets. I don't really use that many pockets. That's why I didn't do it. But you could, and it would work, and it would be lovely. Oh, I am being summoned again. Hold on. Alrighty. Sorry, guys. I know there's a lot of stop-starts in this video, but I did warn you guys at the very start. So I have marked 1.5 inches down and put just a little erasable pen mark. And then I'm going to line this up. There's actually quite a lot of time between these stops and starts. It's not just like 20 seconds. Not that you guys know that, but it doesn't feel like it to you. But, you know, there's like 5 to 10 minutes between all of these. This is not the most ideal way to do a video, but, you know, you can always stop watching. I won't notice. Also why I can't do lives on weekends. Alright, so I've backstitched, trim off the excess, and if I do it all as I go, it's beautiful. And then I don't have to worry about it later too, and they don't get in the way of anything. You'll also notice that I'm always starting at the top. That is so my foot is against this and I don't overstitch when coming up to that section. So that was a deliberate, conscious choice to start at the top to make sure that my stitches look nicer. I think I'm doing wonderfully with. Now, if you can't shove your whole bag through here, just turn it back the other way. Alright, back stitch, lock it all in, get rid of the excess tails, and then I'm going to go through the painful process of doing more blingy stuff. I definitely think it's my nails that are the issue. But also while I'm here, I'm going to install one of my bag tags. And I keep these bags. These are what you guys get zips from me in because I like to recycle. There's no point in throwing it out. There's nothing wrong with it. So I'm thinking I'm going to put it like right here. I could also stick it on the back, I suppose. But that's not as much fun. So I'm going to do it in the middle. So now I just need to mark it with my pen. Jessie, honey, what are you doing? I can hear him dragging a chair. That usually means he's trying to steal something from my cupboard. Jessie? Okay, guys, I'm really sorry. I have to go deal with this. Alright, guys, I took out a bit. I went and did the rest of the press studs. I did actually record it. My child come in again, and I just went, you know what? You don't need to see that. So I have put all of my beautiful sparkly studs in. Now this piece I now need to chop in half because this is going to pull. This is the part that's going to pull this in. So I measured how long I want it, which is I'm pretty sure different from the pattern. So my piece is 10 inches long. So I'm going to chop it in half, and then I have got, so what I'm using is actually like a split ring. When I first ordered split rings, they come really small. I ordered the wrong ones. So they've just been sitting in my cupboard for, I don't know, ever. But they're perfect for this. So then I'm also using one of these, which are lobster claws or clamps, but they've just got like a really little end. So that will be the closure of my bag. Now, if you have access to them, or if you can wait, which I don't want to, you could get little D-rings as well. They would work. But I want my bag today, like right now. And I will not be waiting. So what I'm going to do is the end that I just chopped is going to be the end I stick into the bag. So the end that I back stitched on, which was the start, is where I'm going to clip this on. So I'm just going to pop it under. Now I'm actually doing a smaller stitch length because I'm probably only going to get, I'm actually going to go vertical. So I'm just going to go forward and back and forward and back. So just a little bit. So I've deliberately used smaller stitches because this is sort of very, very thin. But again, that's how I wanted it. So you could totally ignore me and do what the pattern says. I don't mind. I won't be offended. But that is now nice and attached. So I'm going to do the same to this end. So that's got my back stitching. So that's the end I want. So fold it over. And so I'm folding it over a little bit more than I need to, so then I can just back stitch lengthwise. Because it's not wide enough to go back and forth on it like long ways, wide ways, width ways. I know what I'm trying to say. Right? So I'm going down and back. So I'm not going very far and I'm not doing a lot. This won't actually have a lot of pressure on it because if your bag's so full, you'll actually undo this to fit everything in. But I just want to make sure that it is going to hold. So then these just get lined up with the seam allowance or the seam join there. And then clip it on. So that is now the outside of the bag 100% done. So now we're just going to grab our lining and shove it in and stitch it together. So before I do that though, I'm going to make sure that all of these are facing down so I don't accidentally sew them. I don't think that I will, but they're, you know, you never know. Knowing my luck, I'll knock it or something, and I don't really feel like smashing a needle today. So I also want to be conscious about where I'm putting my pocket. So I want this pocket on the back of my bag, so it's got to go in this way. And then we just come along and line everything out. Now I deliberately haven't done this up yet. That is like the last thing that I'm going to do. So don't think I've forgotten. It's a conscious decision that I'm doing it. So I'm going to line up these seams here.
Cathy's trouble.
Is that right, is it?
Cathy's trouble.
The cat is in trouble or the cat is trouble?
Cathy's trouble.
Okay.
It's in the kite.
Is it? It's in the kite. Well, you better go help it.
We have to get down.
Do you need my help to get it down, do you?
Let's get down.
I can't actually get it down, guys. It's a cartoon. He's just watching television. Oh, he's come to say hello. Well, I clipped the bag together. Hey, buddy. What are you doing?
I need the blue.
You what?
Blue.
You need blue. You need blue what? Where's Thomas? The tank engine, guys. Do you need Mummy's help? Do you want me to stop doing this and come and help?
No.
No thanks. Okay then. Mummy will just keep clipping the bag. Now there's no side seam here to actually match up, so I'm just going to work from the outsides into the center.
It's brown.
What's brown?
Lollipops. Brown.
You're not having a lollipop. Why don't you have a pear? You love pears. Hey, buddy. So anyway, I'm just matching up all the seams and then getting everything out in the middle. I'm going to finish doing this off camera and go play with my child, and I'll be back to sew it. Guys, home stretch, I hope. So I have clipped everything, and I'm going to start wherever I want, because there's no flat bit, you just start wherever. So we're going to stitch forward and back. I've got the lining side facing up. But it probably doesn't really matter if you turned out the other way anyway. And I'm just doing it slowly and then moving the bag around with me. And then I'm going to stop and remove all the clips out of my way. And again, I'm not going at 100 miles an hour because this whole bag is a big curve. And I would like it to look nice and even and stuff. I'm not gonna lie, I did just fluoride my child with chocolate biscuits to see if I can get this bag finished before he pops in again. You never know. Okay. Chop off the tails, throw them in the bin. And then there's a hole in the bottom, so you should just be able to reach through, grab a corner, and drag the bag through the bottom, which is much easier than through the zipper pocket. You'll also find that this should go pretty easy because I haven't interfaced the vinyl, so it's much more pliable to what I want it to do. Nearly there. Ta-da! Right, so the bag is now through. Push it all out. I love this bag. I love a nice big bag though. Alright, so then I'm going to reach into the zipper pocket and grab the base. Now you'll also notice, I don't even remember if I mentioned this, but I always try and leave the opposite side to where the zipper pocket is. I find it easier to pull it through and stitch it shut than if the hole's on the same side. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. I genuinely don't remember. It was hours ago that I started this video. So I'm just stitching it shut. And because I measured it out, it's a straight line and it should all go wonderfully easy. Then I'm just going to cut off my tails, and then I'm going to turn the inside of this in. So I'm just going to use my fingers to put the raw edges inside and then top stitch it shut. And then I'm just going to top stitch the bag and put my final zipper and zipper tab on, and we're finished. Oh no, we're not. We're still going to make handles. There's probably going to be another stop in this video for that much time, but oh well. Okay, so now, technically, I could stop there, but I'm not going to. I want to top stitch this. I think it's going to look amazing with the top stitching. It's going to make these curves sit beautifully. But I want to top stitch from the outside. So I'm actually going to turn the bag inside out so that under the machine, the outside will be on top. So I'm just going to reach in, push it all so it's inside out, which is also why I haven't done this up yet. I do it at the end deliberately because it makes all of this much, much easier. So I'm going to start at this side seam here. I'm going to crank it up to 3 3/4. Hello, puppy. All right. So I'm going to roll it under, and I'm going to do a full 1/4 inch because I think 1/8 of an inch is going to be too difficult, and I'm more likely to slip off the edge of the fabric, making my top stitching look messy because I've got bag foam and a lot of curves and there's a lot going on. So I'm going to do the full 1/4 inch, which is for me just the width of my foot, so that it can't slip off. And I'm going slowly so that I get nice, even, beautiful looking stitches. Now, I don't know, you probably can't see from there because there's the whole bag in the way. The next video I might try it from my other shoulder. See if that's any different. So I'm just maneuvering it. So I'm actually rolling this and pinching it right at the seam to make sure that I'm right on the edge. And I'm only doing little bits at a time. And then I adjust and come around again. I'm always making sure I'm stopping with my needle in the down position so it won't slip out. and wreck my top stitching further, because we want beautiful top stitching. It's the whole point of doing it to begin with. All right. Just rolling this seam. So this is the thicker seam. So if your machine is struggling, which funnily enough mine is not, but if it is, you can grab your awesome smooth pliers and just squish it further. I don't actually need to, but I'll do it just to prove a point. I love these pliers. They were definitely less than $20 on eBay, and they are worth it. The amount of seams that I pinch with them just to make them move flatter. Alright, so we're definitely over halfway now. But you'll notice I'm going nice and slow. If I wanted to as well, what I could have done is go and pre-clip the whole bag with clips. Which, let's be honest, potentially would have been a good idea, but I didn't. And I'm on the home stretch now, so there's no point. Alrighty. Back to the start, back stitch. And then get all these tails untwisted. And then I'm going to melt them as well. Because you probably can't see it in the video, but they were a little bit fluffy on the way I snipped them. Cool. So now we turn the bag back in the right way. This really is a pretty fabric. I wish I could get more of it, actually. Oh, I love it. See? It stands up by itself, which is the bit I really, really wanted. Okay, so now I'm going to put my zipper on to here, and then I've got a zipper tab I'm going to sew on the end, and then it's just handles and we are done. Oh, I'm so excited. And before I start this, I'm also going to melt this. Now if you melt it in the blue part of the flame, it doesn't turn everything black, which is obviously very important for me. I'm doing a white zip. So then when I stitch it up, hey puppies, I'm just going to make sure that it's all nice and even at this end where I've, put the zipper. So then the zipper tab. So my zip is 1 1/4 inches wide, and then I have cut it twice as long, so 2 1/2 inches long, so that it will be a square when I bend it over. So I'm just going to put a piece of double-sided tape in the center. Puppies, out. Go on. Don't come in here fighting. Not cool. So I'm not going to put it all the way in. Probably just about halfway. And then I've got like a cute little square tab. Make sure that you back stitch to lock all the stitches in. And there. So instead of dragging this bag all the way through there, I'm just going to pivot it all the way back like that, and now I don't have to deal with that bit. Okie dokie. So then I'm just going to melt those ends down. And then it looks like I did not cut a perfect square, so I'm just going to, or rectangle, trim that bit off. Or it just slipped while I was sewing it, either or. So that's the bag done. And then you can clip this together and it pulls it in at the sides, which I think is just super adorable. Oh, I love it. Right, and then I've got my tag here, so front and center. So that's the bag. I highly recommend the bag foam. So now I've just got to do my straps, and I should have enough there to do them. So I've already put the double-sided tape on. So peel off the backing, and then bend them both into the center, like so. Now obviously if I was using different size hardware, I would just make different size straps. Another really fun thing to do, and if I had it I probably would have, is if I had this light blue vinyl, I would have put a strip of that, but I do not. Of all the colours I have, that is not one of them, unfortunately. So I'm doing fabric instead, which will still look amazing. This always takes the longest. This part, or at least it feels like it does. It probably doesn't really. Alright, so I'm going to take one of my pieces. Now I've folded the end down and I've ironed it so that there's a crease. So that I'm just going to line that up in the center. So that time I started in the center of the strap, backstitched, and then come back over it. Which is just another different way of doing a backstitch, really. So my piece of fabric was 1.5 inches wide, and my strap, my vital part, was 2. So there's a lot less vinyl showing through on this one. That's just how I decided to do it. If I wanted to, I could have also made the fabric 1/2 inch so that there's more vinyl showing, or I could have made them both 1 inch so that there's less vinyl showing. I just like this look. I'm going to chop that off before I sew so it doesn't get in my way. And I've deliberately made this strap longer than I needed. So I'm going to get close to the end, and then I'm going to just come and chop off this little bit of excess, but I'm going to leave about 1/2 inch past the end of the strap. So then I can tuck it under so that there's no raw edges. Are you okay? Okay. He's fine. He usually just says ow for attention at the moment. Alright, back stitch. And that is one strap done. One down, one to go. I really do love the way this bag come out. If you don't have this pattern, I actually very highly recommend you go get it. If you like big bags, because that is a pretty big bag. He's just yelling at the television, guys. Don't stress. So all up today, this bag has probably taken me nearly 3 hours to build, but obviously it doesn't take that long to sew. It's just I've been doing stuff in between. And don't feel bad. Like if you have the same problem where it takes you a whole day to do a bag, but you've got other stuff going on, that's still a win, right? You still got a whole bag done, even though you had to do, you know, grocery shopping or washing or childness or whatever. Even if you only get one bag a week done, that's still good. Don't ever be disheartened by how long it takes. Because this video is not a true indicator of how many hours it took me today. This is just how much of actual sewing time I did. But it's lunchtime right now. Like, I'm gonna make this strap and then go make sandwiches. Alright, so I'm centering it up. Now, if you're not good at holding it still, you can put another piece of double-sided tape down the center of the fabric, and then that'll hold that in place while you stitch it. Oh, I gotta go. He's stuck somewhere. Okay, he wasn't stuck. He was fine. And then I started recording me punching holes, and then he come in and yelled again, so I deleted that. So I have measured 1/2 inch up from the end, and then 1 inch from that mark for all 4 of my straps, so that they are even. You can eyeball it if you want to, but just make sure that your straps are going to end up even, because that's important, obviously. So now I'm just going to take some free stipper glue and put it on the fabric side. Now, if you've never worked with this glue before, it comes out really fast, like water. So don't squeeze it. Once you can see it in the knob or in the top, just let it kind of drip out. I don't know if you just saw that on camera, but it is super runny. So I'm just putting a dollop on each of the holes that I cut so that it won't fray later down the track through my rivets. Now I'm not using the sparkle rivets on this because I don't think that they're big enough. That's just my personal opinion. So I'm going to take a strap and stick it up and in so that when it's up, you won't see the strap ends. If you've got those fancy strap ends, like the metal bits you put on here, I would put this on the other way so that you will see it because they're pretty. But I don't have those. I may look at getting some in the future, but at this stage I don't have those. So I'm not doing it that way. So then I'm just putting this on, pushing the post through. Now I'm using double capped rivets, which means that they've got a cap on both sides, so they're smooth on both sides. And then I'm just sticking it under and squishing it down. And so that's now one strap on. So I'm just going to twist the bag around, do it again, and the bag's all finished. So the bag itself doesn't take so long to sew. So long. Yes, great English. But yeah, this has taken me quite a few hours to actually get done. But I still get a bag at the end of today, so I'm happy. Well, it's not even the end of today, it's like lunchtime. So push that through, and that through, and the cap on. So it just needs a final iron. So what I will do to iron it is, if you haven't watched my ironing video, is I will shove a pillow in it and then iron it up. But that is the bag all done. And then if I want to, I can let this go and then it opens up even bigger. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And again, sorry for all the stops, but such is life, apparently. And so until next time.